Good afternoon and welcome to our November third Tuesday at 3 session. I'm Alan Falcon, CEO of Cumulus Global, and I want to welcome you to our session, How to Better AI Results. And a little bit different today. We've got a special guest who I'll introduce in just a moment. But before we get into our topic here, which is really about, going from AI just being something you're playing with or using to really making it a strategic part of your workflows, a couple of housekeeping items. One, you'll note the audio is muted, that's so background noise doesn't get in the way. So if at any point in time you have a question or a comment, please open the questions window in this webinar session. There's an icon either on the top or right-hand side of your screen to get you access. Also, a reminder that the session's being recorded. We generally get it posted to the website, and we'll get an email out to you with a link within 24 hours. Feel free to share. And remember that these web events, third Tuesday at 3, are one of many resources you can read, watch, and use to explore topics on technology and AI as they relate to small and mid-sized businesses. So again, thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and let's start to dive right in. So first order of business, I want to welcome Gail Zona. She is the founder of Learning AI for Biz. Learning AI for Biz, and Gail's role is consulting and training that helps professionals and small businesses integrate AI into daily operations for real measurable results. This is not playing around. This is actually using it and getting results. A former tech executive turned entrepreneur, Gail's taught more than 900 professionals how to use AI to save time, streamline workflows, and uncover new business opportunities. She is known for her practical business-first approach, and she focuses on showing you how to apply AI creatively and confidently without the complexity or hype. So we're really trying to get into the meat of things and have a value-oriented session here today. And along those lines, today what we're going to cover is really 4 big areas, and I'm going to hand it over to Gail to dive right in. First is use cases. Throughout Gail's presentation and demo and my comments, we'll talk about how you identify and define what a good use case is and why they're so important. Building better AI prompts. Gail's going to share her secret 3 simple steps for doing better prompts and talk about improving workflows with AI. And then I'm going to talk a little bit just to, throw, cold water on a really exciting party here. I'm going to talk about avoiding AI data leaks and some of the issues around security and data privacy we need to keep in mind. So with that said, I'm going to hand over the presentation role to Gail, and she will share her screen, and we'll be on our way.
All right, now I'm working on sharing. Let's see, what am I doing wrong? So, Alan, can you see my screen?
Okay, we can see your screen.
All right, good. So I'll work through, I will be using the slides for most of it, but then we'll pop into an actual AI app. I'm going to use the workstation version of ChatGPT today to show you some actual real live examples, because that's really where the fun is. As Alan said, I'm Gail Zona. Thank you, Alan, so much for inviting me today. I founded Learning AI for Biz because after a career in high tech, I said, let's do something different. And I started my own little business. It was a gift manufacturing business. And like many entrepreneurs, I got frustrated with the daily grind of all the different things you have to do. And I said, well, gee, I wonder if I could have AI help me with the marketing, because that wasn't my favorite thing to do. So I messed around with it a little bit, and I said, oh, this is kind of interesting. It wasn't hard for me to learn AI because I had a tech background. But as I started talking with friends and colleagues, I realized that they did not. And in fact, learning how to use it was really the battle. And so over some time, I pivoted and I said, well, I actually really enjoy teaching people how to use AI and get the most out of it to help their business. So that is what I do today. 900 people later and counting, I've helped people learn how to use AI to integrate it into their business, get better results, get faster results, and do things they really didn't think they could even do. like stuff like the big companies do. So I'll show you a few things today. Because I think it's important to learn how to figure this out. So we're going to be talking to newbies who are just starting out using AI, haven't really used it a lot yet, dabblers, people who are using it maybe once in a while, and then the dazzlers. Many, many more people now are dazzlers, or people using it every day for all sorts of things. But I promise you will learn something today. So we'll start off with how to create effective structured prompts. And you may be using AI, but I will give you some tips on creating prompts to give you better results, because that's what it's all about. Then we have a couple of different use cases, mining meetings for useful insights, effective conversation, talking points, some things that you might not even think about using AI for. You get some really good insights this way, and then some considerations when you're trying to integrate AI. So why do we even care about structured prompts? Well, I always say that AI is famously unstructured, but it tends to work better with some structure. So we're going to put a few limitations around it, some guardrails, not to inhibit us, but more to help us remember what we need to do each time, because the more data that we give AI, the better it performs. And that's always the case. So we'll get better, more accurate results. And it should result in less tweaking, less frustration, and less time wasting. Because face it, you all know that you can waste an enormous amount of time with AI. It's very seductive. So we want to make sure that we can get good results, because after all, we're trying to use it for business to help our businesses grow. The other thing this can do is help you figure out where you went wrong. So when you get results you don't expect, you can ask the right questions. So I say it like this. We start off with a prompt, as you know, and we like to give AI a persona. The persona is, what role do you want the AI to assume? Is it an expert in social media, a business strategist, a marketing guru? And the reason we do this is because AI has a vast, vast library, and it is built to give you the response the fastest way possible. It doesn't necessarily default to deep thinking all the time. And so when you give it a persona, it forces it to go to that part of its giant, giant knowledge base to pull out the most relevant results. So instead of a hockey coach or a doctor telling you how to create a LinkedIn post, you're going to have a LinkedIn expert tell you how to create it. That is a narrower group of people, and a group of people that will know better how to do it. And you want to say you are a LinkedIn expert. We're talking to AI now. You're not saying I am. Of course you're not. You, LinkedIn, or you, AI, sorry, you are a LinkedIn expert. Skilled in creating posts for maybe an accounting and tax practice, let's say. You include relevant information in your posts and always include a call to action. So we're telling it, here's what I want you to do. Here's the expert I want you to mimic. Now, the next piece, the backstory. If you were using a consultant, you would, of course, end up having a conversation at the beginning to tell the consultant who you are, what you do, etc. And so you might be talking to the consultant about the company, your clients, the situation, because it needs to know something about you. And the same thing holds true for AI. So you might tell it something like this. I have an accounting practice that provides bookkeeping, tax preparation, accounting services to medium-sized businesses in Massachusetts. My clients choose me for the superior level of client service I provide, and they consistently praise me for never having to worry about the accounting details and for my ability to advise them in a timely and insightful manner. So we've not only told it a bit about what we do, actually, products and services, but we've told it a bit about why people like us, and that's important too. Now, you don't have to do this every time. You can go in, most AI platforms these days have ways to customize it, and I highly suggest that you do that, because that having this kind of a background every single time it does anything for you means that the results are far, far better. And finally, the task. Well, this is what you would think of, right? What do you want the AI to do for you? We're going to write a social media post, or we're going to give you insights about your clients, compare pricing plans. I mean, these are all things AI can do, but the more it knows about you and the more that you have told it what kind of expert it is, the better the results you get. And then finally, you might say something like this: create a post introducing me that would be engaging and informative to my prospective clients, and that sets me apart from others. Use benefits-oriented language. So we put a lot in here, but this is the kind of prompt that gives you the best results. And one other thing that's optional, you don't have to do this all the time. You might give it a brand tone, or you might tell what kind of audience that you're trying to reach, or who you're creating this content for, because that is going to slant it one way or the other and make it sound better. You can, again, customize it so that it knows that you always want to use, say, Gail style anytime you're doing something. And then you can also give us some formatting advice. Use bullet points and headers where appropriate to make the post stand out and be easy to read. This is a LinkedIn post. We don't really want to see emojis in here, so we tell it, do not use emojis. So it should pay attention to all of this stuff when it's creating something. So people laugh, they go, my goodness, that's an awful lot to type. And I say, well, yeah, it's changed. Last year, you could just say what's in this first column. You're a LinkedIn expert, have an accounting practice, create a post for me. Simple and sweet. But this year, because there are more AI platforms, more people are using it, and all the AI platforms have gotten much, much more complex, you need more detail. But like I say, use customization because that is going to be your friend. We won't go into that today. Each platform is different, but that's something that you want to consider because that will give you the best results. All right, so that's a little bit about that. So let's jump into an actual use case because that's where you really start to see this, the power of this. I talk about this mining meeting gold. Every single client meeting you have, an internal meeting, vendor meeting, whatever it is, there's all sorts of things that happen in those meetings. Of course, you're comparing facts, you're setting deadlines, you're maybe kind of setting up an agreement, maybe you're trying to sell something, but there's all sorts of other things that people say that you hear, but of course you're focused on the purpose of the meeting, especially if you're running it. So you don't necessarily remember that. You might not know that you want to go back and look at that, but all of those conversations contain gold, I call it. And that gold can help you do all sorts of interesting things. So you have that piece of it. And then these days, because we're all using some form of meeting transcription tool, we have meeting transcripts, and that's new. We used to be taking meeting notes by hand, but now almost all of us are capturing meeting notes verbatim. And I would say that that meeting note transcript is data, not information. It's just who said, he said, she said, this is what we did. But what if you could transform that into something meaningful? Now, of course, you can have AI help you create a summary, kind of just the facts, please. And, what happened, who said, here's the action item steps, etc. But what if you went deeper? What if you went deeper and you asked about the softer subjects, such as observations, or perhaps quotes that your client said, maybe new opportunities, maybe upsell potential, maybe referral opportunities. And you don't have to do a whole lot to make this happen. Because I'm here with Alan, I will say be mindful of the private info for your clients if you're going to do that. You need to make sure that you have a secure setup to do this sort of thing. But once you do, you can get some seriously, seriously good information. So this is the prompt we're going to use. And we're starting out with a persona, of course. You're a marketing and communications expert for a small professional accounting firm. We've said marketing and communications because they're going to be analyzing a transcript. We told it for a small professional consulting firm here because we want it to be focused on that kind of business. There are lots of kinds of businesses here, but we want to focus on that. That, again, gives us better results. And then we'll say, I've uploaded a transcript from a client meeting where the client name has been redacted. Use what you know about my business, LAI. So this is going to be an actual example from something I've done. I've seriously redacted this transcript, but still you'll see an actual example. And I have customized this version of ChatGPT for my business. So it knows who I am. So now here's the task. I want you to create a summary of meeting insights from this transcript. I want you to look for client sentiment, client quotes, potential content to use for social media. Always looking for that, right? Potential upsell opportunities, potential referrals, potential speaking opportunities, and any other things you think will enhance my business. Because it knows who I am, it's going to give me some rather interesting results and maybe things I never even thought of. All right, so let's pop out of here and let's go over to, all right, here. Alan, could you just confirm for me we can see the ChatGPT screen?
You are good.
All right, thank you. All right, so I've got this prompt pre-done here, so we don't have to wait for this. All right, I'm going to start a new chat. And I will upload a transcript. All right, so here's my transcript. Now, here's what we said. Your marketing communications expert. I've uploaded this transcript. And then I want you to create this information. All right, so let's see what it does with that transcript. We'll give it a second. All right, so here we go. Client sentiment. Okay. Enthusiasm, curiosity, a growing sense of accountability regarding their AI adoption journey. I show pride in their progress. Okay. And here's some quotes coming out. Overall sentiment, positive, cautious, hopeful. Okay. Wants to go a little faster, right? That's good. I've trained this chat GPT to always give me pros and cons as well as sources. So that's why you see the pros and cons in here. You can train any AI to do, to always give you results in a certain format. Client quotes. So here we go. I've been thinking about it for a week and just did it this morning because there's not, and this is the accountability piece when I do sessions with people. From the beginning, I want to be curious, I want to be current, and I've adopted to really be open. I'm in like 70% or more. If I knew how to use ChatGPT, what do I do it for me? Okay, so here's some social proof that we have. Potential content themes. And so it's taking that meeting transcript and coming up with potential ideas I can use for my LinkedIn. Okay, when to use AI and when doing the old-fashioned way is easier. Potential upsell. All right, ongoing coaching package. Clear opening for a structured multi-session program. Build your toolbox. Workflow automation build out. Interesting. A done with you content program creation. Okay. Potential referral opportunities. References CEO peer group. Okay, I can maybe look into that. Potential speaking opportunities. That's interesting. Now, additional business enhancing. This is the part that I didn't tell it to do, but let's see what it came up with. Client created AI wish list is a gold mine. Great case study, template for other clients. Okay. Pickleball prompt can be teaching example. All right. This particular client used it for some personal stuff as well. Hesitation around misinterpretation reveals training opportunity. Okay. So that's what we got. Pretty powerful because I might not have gotten any of that from just reading a transcript. All right. So we're back into our presentation. So that is one great use case. Most people don't do anything like that. Once you had a series of those, either for the same client or for different kinds of clients, you could have your AI platform analyze all those and see what kind of trends you find, because perhaps there's some things that you can change in the way you provide service, or maybe there's some things that you could upgrade in that. So again, you can get some really interesting potential ideas from this. So use case number 2, conversation talking points customized for you. So again, we're having conversations every day with clients, employees, vendors, etc., but are they as effective as they could be? And we all have strengths and weaknesses when it comes to communicating, but most of us try to hide our weaknesses, right? We don't want other people to know about them. But AI can help you mitigate that. And here's the cool part. So you can use AI to create talking points for an important discussion. You can give it the background of the person or group. You can tell it your strengths and tell it your weaknesses. Most people gasp when I say this, but if you tell it your weaknesses, then no one else has to know. No one's looking over your shoulder. It can help you mitigate that. It can give you talking points that you feel you can say. So it can really customize those for you. So here's our example. So we'll say you're a sales and communications expert for a small accounting firm. So we're going to use that accounting firm I had earlier. And that's our same accounting firm stuff that we did. So here's the situation. I'm trying to close a really large client, okay, and my biggest ever. I'm concerned about appearing too small for them, says the accounting person. I want you to create a series of talking points, taking my strengths outlined above and also take into account my weaknesses. Being very self-conscious about my capabilities. Another weakness, not liking to talk about myself. And a third one, reluctant to ask for the business. Okay, so let's see how that translates. So we'll go back to our prompts and we'll get to the second one and see what we have. Okay, again, I'm going to start a brand new chat. Okay, so this time we're the accounting firm. This is a different kind of a company. So here's the persona. You're a sales and communications expert for a small accounting firm. All right, and here was our backstory. Let's see. All right, there's our backstory. I have an accounting practice, so this gives a little bit of background. So in the prior example, I had that background all baked into this version of ChatGPT. For this one, no, we're going to put a little bit of blurb in here, but that's enough. And now here's the last part. I'm trying to close a really large client, my biggest ever. I'm concerned about appearing too small. And here's what I'm worried about. All these different weaknesses I'm worried about. So let's see what help we can get for the talking points. So remember, what it's doing is it's looking at who we are, what we do well, what we don't. Now, position yourself as their trusted, proactive financial partner. Key message. My clients value they never have to worry about the accounting details because I stay ahead of issues and communicate proactively. That frees them to focus entirely on running and growing their business. Okay. So pros, demonstrates the exact experience you are to deliver. How perfect, right? Focuses on their benefit, reducing the feeling of talking about yourself because you're really focusing on the client. Communicates a value standard typical of larger firms, proactivity, risk reduction, clarity. So maybe what this accounting owner does is exactly what is needed for a large company. And it gives you some things. So maybe you want to give an example here. Now, next one, reassure them that your size is a strength, not a capability. One of the advantages is that my clients get the expertise they need without the turnover or impersonal service. Okay, great, because it's always this owner talking to them. When something matters, I'm the one handling it. And clients repeatedly tell me that makes all the difference. Okay, so here's some pros and some cons. You need to avoid apologizing for being too small. Use client feedback as proof. My clients tell me the reason they stay is because I give timely, insightful advice that helps them make better decisions. They said they appreciate never having to chase me for updates or explanations. So here we are repositioning our strengths and helping move around over through our weaknesses. So highlight your advisory value, not just compliance, etc. Show you understand medium to large in Massachusetts, etc. A comfortable, non-pushy way. Here's how we ask for the business. Based on what you've shared, the kind of support you're looking for, be confident taking this on. Would you like me to outline the next steps? You're not being pushy or salesy. You're just moving the conversation along. Or you can do something like this. We can start with defined onboarding so you can experience my process firsthand, whatever feels comfortable. And then addressing scale. So it's giving you all sorts of things that you can turn into something more formal. And you could also then, what are possible objections I might encounter, how to overcome them. This is something else you can ask AI about because it can come up with some ideas on that. Your firm seems too small. Reframe this size as a benefit. How do we know you can handle business of our size? Again, the reframing. So you can see that, okay, we're considering a larger firm. Larger firms can be a good fit, but my clients appreciate those, that they never have to chase me. So it gives you a way to deal with the actual conversation. Not that you're going to read this, of course, not a good idea, but it can definitely give you a way to make this more of a conversation so you're not worried about what you're going to say. So finally, it's a tool, not magic. So you've seen some good uses of it. You need to expect a transition period. AI must be learned and integrated into your day-to-day. Some people will get it faster than others. You've probably seen this. I mean, my advice is always, when you're doing something like this in a larger organization, even if it's like 10 people, pick a small functional area that you know works. Maybe start with follow-up emails. That's an easy one. Get comfortable with that, integrate that into the workflows, get some wins, make everybody feel like, yep, I can do this, then expand. Don't just try to drop a tool in and expect everybody to figure out, because they won't. One of the things I do, which is different from other people, is I talk about the actual use cases. It's not how you use it, it's what you can use it for. And that's what some people have a hard time with this, because this is a very different kind of software. And then finally, I talked about the customization. You can get a lot more out of any AI platform if you can customize it, because then you don't have to keep putting stuff in and tweaking constantly. That's what drives people crazy. The other interesting side benefit about customizing it for your organization If you use the same foundational customization across the entire organization, then you can speak with one voice. So the AI results you get out speak to the mission, the core values, the unique value proposition of each company. That's huge, something to consider. So other ways, we talked about some of those, leads, clients, more sales, raising prices. How do I save time? You can actually ask AI, once it knows about your business, what suggestions do you have to streamline my business? Because it can give you some great ones. Should I hire someone? How do I get more referrals? I mean, all of this are questions, from detailed, how do I save more time, down to should I open another office? Big squishy topic, but something you can certainly do with AI. So thank you again for your attention today. I'm on LinkedIn if you want to see some tips. I'm always posting tips and tricks and things, so you can follow me there. Website, check it out. You'll see the kinds of things that we do. But I do offer a free discovery chat, 30 minutes, free, no obligation. We just talk about what you can use AI for, specifically you. So it's really, really quite detailed. So that's all I have for today, Alan. And let me flip this back to you.
Okay, so I'll share my screen again. We'll get back to a cover. Thank you, Gail, for joining us and for the demonstration of use cases. And I think, it's often overlooked or why identifying use cases are so important. And what we've seen in working with, internally within my business and with our clients is without an organization saying, we're going to use AI for this use case and making it part of the regular workflow, then what happens is sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't. It's ad hoc. Maybe it's learning enough about your business and your background to represent and have your voice and your mission embedded. Maybe it's not. And so that consistent use case is really designed about take the things that you do on an ongoing basis, or take the things that you don't do because they're time consuming. So for example, analyzing meetings for social media content is something that everyone says, oh man, I should do that. But who actually sits down and reads through a transcript and tries to figure it out? But if you make it part of your process where, hey, every Friday I'm going to scan, do the prompt against my meeting transcripts for the week and come up with the ideas, then it becomes part of a business process. It's repeatable. The AI gets more accurate, more relevant over time, and you get more value out of it. And so all very important. And so I do want to talk a little bit about security because there's a new industry term called AI data leaks, which is clearly geared at having information that should be private and confidential, not shared with people who shouldn't see it. And while most people think about AI data leaks being releasing things into the public, and we'll talk about that as well, it's also who in your company should know. So for example, for those of you running Microsoft 365, you have a document and you want to share it with a coworker. The default sharing permission when you go to share it is anyone with the link. And that document could actually have a lot of sensitive information. So let's say you're sharing ideas about the annual bonus plan with, you're the CFO and you're sharing it with the CEO and you're looking for approval. So you create the document, you share it, anyone with the link, you're sharing it only with the CEO. You trust the CEO isn't going to do anything bad with it. It's the easiest way to share. What you may not realize is Copilot is anyone. It's also everyone. So when you say anyone with the link, Copilot now has that link. And so even though you've already shared it, where potentially in old school ways, anyone within your organization could have found that file, now with AI, you run the risk that AI thinks it's relative to a query, right? So an employee goes in and says, what kind of bonus deals are available year end? Because he's looking for deals that they can offer your clients or your customers. And lo and behold, the AI picks up bonus deals and next thing you know, the employee's looking at the bonus plan for the year. And shouldn't happen. So internally, you got to be careful to make sure you're not accidentally sharing information. So within Google Workspace and Microsoft 365, we recommend stepping back, taking time to classify information, understand what you need to keep private because it's proprietary and needs to be protected by law or regulation, whether that's industry regulation or state federal rules, and what information for your business, whether it's personally for your business or by contract, needs to be confidential and proprietary. and manage access and permissions for that. And there are tools we can run that'll do a quick audit of your data, your files in Google Workspace or OneDrive and 365 and SharePoint, and tell you how they're shared and whether they're violating outside standards or industry standards or laws. And then you can monitor and mitigate that automatically to help manage those permissions. As importantly, when you pick AI tools, you want to make sure they adhere to those industry security standards, that they're not accidentally going to share information that shouldn't be shared. You never want to use a tool that's going to train their models without your permission, because they're effectively taking all of your data, anything you put in, and building into the model, which means anyone who uses that model may have access to it. You don't want to use tools where humans can see what you've put in, right? This is, this is comparable. For example, we provide data backup services, right? We can help someone restore their files, but we can actually never see what's in the file through the backup system. The same thing is if you're uploading in files AI, you don't want a human at that AI company, tool company, be able to read the file you uploaded. And finally, you want tools that don't sell or use your data for other purposes. And the general rule of thumb would be if it's a paid version, your data is private. If it's free, it's not. However, there are now paid products that their standard terms of condition give them the right to collect and use your data for other purposes. So you do sort of have to take a quick check and make sure you're secure. And these aren't complicated or time-consuming steps, but following them really will help you protect and prevent accidental disclosures and things along that, things of that nature. And so when we look at picking tools, there are a number of tools, and this dates back to March, so I know it's possibly a little dated. I believe ChatGPT has gotten some additional certifications since March. Microsoft is working on it. But if your industry, if the business or the clients you serve need to adhere to any of these types of regulations listed down the left-hand side of the slide, you want to pick tools that are compliant or that you can use in a compliant way. And just because Microsoft 365 Copilot doesn't have all the boxes checked doesn't mean you can't use it. You just may have to alter how you use it and be aware of that. Same thing for ChatGPT Enterprise. And so picking the right tools is important as you look forward to that. Okay, at this point, I'm going to do a couple of things. One, open it up to questions. If you have any questions, and other things in the chat to everyone, I dropped a link. We've created an AI landing zone on our website. It's not yet officially part of the Resource Center. We're still previewing it and working it out, but it is a collection of all of the AI related content we've been publishing. Blog posts, some other Third Tuesday at 3 webcasts, some Coffee and Cloud webcasts, e-papers, ebooks, white papers, information we've gotten from third-party sources that we like that we're sharing because we think it'll help you. So feel free, save that link, drop into that landing zone. It just makes it easier to find anything you might be looking for as you proceed on your AI journey. And so we have opened it up for questions. We've got time for a few. And the first question was, could we please have another class on how to vet AI tools? Yes, we will. That's a great idea. I've noted it, and my AI summary of this meeting and webcast will highlight it as well. And we'll definitely get something on the calendar for that as well. And we might, that could also potentially be a good worksheet that we publish in the library as well. So we'll look at building that content. Is there anything we haven't talked about, Gail, that we should cover before we say goodbye? We don't have any other questions. So if folks are still on and they want to ask questions, now is the time.
No, I think you've covered some good things, Alan. Yeah, I will say that your chart was a bit outdated,
Yep.
but that's fine. I mean, as long as you've got a methodology to vet the tools, I think that that people are fine. The other thing that I might mention, Alan, you and I didn't talk about this, but the thing I see more and more is people wanting an AI policy in their workplace, and so that's something to give some thought to.
Yep.
Because that people are using AI. That's the thing that you have to keep in mind. Whether you've said use it or not, they are, because the tools are out there and they're free, at least to start with. So people are using it. So you should make sure that you have a defined way to use them so that you don't endanger your company's security or privacy.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm almost a little embarrassed I didn't mention that. um, and actually, it's interesting for my business. We're in the industry. We have an AI policy. We're actually reworking it now, just given how fast the tools have changed over the last 6 to 9 months, to adapt to it. And that's something else that over the next couple of weeks we can provide a template for and share that in our resource center as well. And we'll let people know, and we'll announce that as part of our blog posts and and it'll be in our newsletters coming up as well once those are available as well.
Yeah, I think it would be a huge help for folks.
Okay, and if folks have questions after the session, you have contact information up on the screen, info@cumulusglobal.com, or you can email me directly. I keep forgetting to pull off my phone number. I'm horrible about answering the phone when it rings. I'm worse about checking voicemail. So the best way to reach me is by email. I don't have an assistant, so you'll get an answer from me. And if I'm really busy, I may ask someone on my team to get in touch with you and let you know that I'm busy. See if they can help and book a time for us to chat. You can also schedule a call with any of our cloud advisors there. And if you're interested in having the one-on-one session that Gail offered, let us know. We'll make the introduction and the connection and help you get that scheduled as well. And so I do want to thank everyone for joining us here today. I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day and week to be here live with us or to be watching this on demand. And let us know how we can help. And we'll follow up with a link to the recording, to the AI landing zone, and a reminder that you're welcome to schedule a one-on-one session with Gail, and for attending or watching this session as well, if you're interested in an AI security assessment, Cumulus Global can do that for you complimentary as well. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day and a great week.